Yeah, great. Okay, so this is exciting. This is the first episode of a Cuppa with the Calm Birth School. There we go. The first episode of a Cuppa with the Calm Birth School, and I'm so excited to be the host today. And today we're going to be talking about early pregnancy, when you find out that you're expecting a baby and it's that kind of but also that kind of moment. So my name is Liz Stamford and I am the manager of all things Calm Birth School, and I'm your host for today. And I've got my lovely panel here. I have got the wonderful, the gorgeous, the founder of the Calm Birth School, that's Susie Ashworth. Hi, Susie. Hi. Susie is also, I'm sure you all know, a mindset and marketing mentor, Hay House author, TEDx speaker, and mum to 3 lovely bubbas. How are you today, Susie?
Hi, I'm just trying to work out how I can only hear one version of you at a time.
Oh, so are you getting feedback from Facebook?
I am.
So if you, on the Facebook feed, if you click on the little speaker icon.
Here we go. I have.
You got it?
Sorted that out. I'm back. I can now hear, which is good.
Good. So how are you?
I am really, really well, thank you. And I'm super excited that this is the first of many shows where we can have a cuppa, or you are going to be having a cuppa with all of the peeps around the world, talking pregnancy and birth and all of that good juicy stuff. So yeah,
it is super duper exciting. So if people are watching on Facebook, could you give us some hearts? Give Susie some hearts and some love, and I'll introduce my next panelist.
My husband's just walking in.
It's the who are you shushing?
My husband's just walking in, so I was like,
So my next panelist is the lovely Ray Dodd. Ray is a former Calm Birth School instructor and now a very successful and amazing, know this firsthand, motherhood and business coach. And Ray is also mom to 2 boys. So thank you, Ray, for joining us. How are you today?
I'm good. I am, I'm good. As you guys know, and most anyone who follows me on any social media, because I won't stop talking about it, I've broken my ankle. So instead of a cup of tea, I did just show this. This is what I've got, because I can't get to fill up my own water. And my husband's just dropped it and walked out. He's just walked out. He literally dropped it. I'm hoping there's like a smoothie in there or something. He's just dropped it and gone. I'm good.
Thanks, lover.
Oh, wow.
I'm getting better. It's coming off on Monday, the cast. So
good. Are you still like climbing up the stairs on your knees and things like that?
Oh, so So last night, Gus never wakes up in the evenings. Last night he did, and Phil had to go out. So I had to crawl up these really steep stairs to settle him back to bed twice.
Oh man!
How do they know?
But your thighs are gonna be really toned by the time.
My left leg is amazing now. It really, like, I can stand on one leg so steady.
Just your left leg, okay?
Yeah. Right leg is withering away. Bless it. It's amazing.
So, thank you, Ray, for joining us today. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about early pregnancy, specifically that moment when you find out that you are pregnant. So I've got my own stories, because obviously I've got 3 children myself, and all 3 stories are quite different, actually, the emotions that sort of came with it. But I'm really interested to hear both of your stories, and I thought I'd start with Susie and find, how did you find out you were pregnant with Caesar, your eldest, and how far along were you, if you can remember?
I always feel a bit weird telling this story, but I'm quite in tune with my body. And so basically, aside from with Coco, my second one, whenever we have got pregnant, I've basically known as soon as he's kind of got in there. I just
enjoying the hand motion.
Yeah, as soon as okay, yeah, we got that.
I really feel it. It's almost like, you know, when you see the videos of when the sperm meets the egg. It's like something magical happens. And it's like I'm like, oh, that was weird. Oh. And I feel it happening. And for sure, it almost felt like the moment that we conceived. Yeah. I knew that I was pregnant. And both with Caesar and with Aluna, I knew before the test knew. So, wow. Yeah, and I think with Coco, because we had a miscarriage beforehand, I think that I slightly doubted myself. Yeah. And so we went through about 2 months of me being in denial that I was pregnant, even though I was pregnant. And if I'd have done the test, I would have seen that I was pregnant. But I was really like, no, I'm not. But yeah, with Caesar, I knew the second we basically did it.
Wow, graphic. So I can definitely relate to that. Not with my first or my second, I was completely clueless. But with my third, and if my husband's watching, he's going to love this because he's going to think it's like, you know, it's kind of indicating his male prowess in some kind of way. But yeah, just like yourself and Jerome, when I conceived my third, Jamie, I was like, straight after I hope my mom's not watching. Straight after, I was like, yeah, I'm pregnant, definitely pregnant, and I was, and I couldn't put my finger on what it was that made me know or be so sure that I was pregnant. I just knew it. I even did a test that said I wasn't pregnant, and I am. Yeah, I was just that convinced that I was. But don't you think it's slightly different when it's your first, like, well, I don't know if you'd agree, like, Ray, when you first found out you were pregnant with Stan? I do know this story.
I know, I was just thinking about how different it is to what Susie just said.
I know, I'm like, Ray, just walk us through your story when you found out you were pregnant.
I'm going to try not to laugh because this story is like, my husband tells this all the time. So we tried for quite a long time to get pregnant with Stan. I've known since I was not even a teenager that I had polycystic ovaries. So I knew that it was going to take a while.
Yeah.
So I just very rarely get periods, basically. So I don't seem to have a problem getting pregnant. I seem to have a problem ovulating. When I ovulate, I get pregnant quite quickly, essentially. So that's some background. So we've been trying for about 18 months with but also not getting periods. So if you can imagine that, when you're trying for a baby, but then you don't get a period and you've never been pregnant before, you're constantly getting signs that you're not pregnant, that you're pregnant, sorry. So anyway, so I'd taken loads and loads of pregnancy tests, and it was Christmas. So I was like, right, well, I should take a pregnancy test before any festive drinking. So I did that, but I'd taken so many that I'd got really blasé. So I just kind of took the test, looked at it. It didn't change immediately, so just chucked it in the bin. I just didn't wait long enough, I suspect. Went through Christmas with all the festive jolliness of Christmas in my family's house, which is a lot of booze in your hand. To be fair, I had tried to check. I'd tried to be responsible. And then we had friends come over, and actually I was starting to feel weird. One of the signs for me that I'm pregnant is I don't like alcohol. So I was kind of going off it a bit. I was a bit like, this doesn't taste very good. I don't like it. I don't think I can drink like this anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't like drunk. It was just that kind of like quite a lot. Anyway.
Yeah. Because you didn't know.
I didn't know. No, exactly. And he's fine, by the way, everybody. He's fine. He can take a big knock on the head, but other than that, he seems to be okay. So we had friends over, not for New Year, the day after they came over. New Year's Eve, we actually were very chilled out. We planned our vegetable patch, which was very rock and roll of us. And then, I don't know why we did that. And we didn't drink that night. And then the next night, people came over and I had a few glasses of wine. And the reason this is important is because often that leaves me really dehydrated and I'll wake up really early. So I had a few glasses of wine and I woke up really dehydrated. And for some reason, decided to go and take a pregnancy test at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Why not? Best time to do it, obviously.
In my defence, I thought it was 7 o'clock because I'd woken up. But even though that's a weird thing to do at 7 o'clock in the morning when you've got guests there. Went and took it, and because a couple of weeks had passed, it turned pink like that.
Whoa.
And I was like, and I was saying to Liz when I told her this story, I think, and I know we'll talk about this in a sec, but I think no matter how much you've tried, I imagine it might be the same for people who've had IVF even. When you're pregnant, it's still like, what? How? Even though you know exactly how. It was still like, okay. So I went upstairs and just hovered at my husband until he woke up, like gave him like that kind of awkward vibe around the bed until he woke up.
Scary.
Why?
At 3:10 in the morning.
3:10 in the morning, yeah. And then he was like, well, that's us up for the date. Little did we know how common that would become. But yeah, he was like, and so then we had to come downstairs. And also what happened, I'd had a fertility appointment with a doctor in between Christmas and New Year.
Oh my goodness.
And so my friend, once we came downstairs, was like, how was the appointment? And are you okay with not having not having conceived yet? I know it's taking you guys a while. And I was like, not wanting to tell her because I just couldn't really vocalize it yet. Just like, yeah, it's really tricky.
Oh no.
Just wanting to kick them out. Bless them.
Yeah, trying to get rid of them, not trying to be rude. Yeah. But like
why did I do that? But anyway.
What a massive moment to find out that you're pregnant amidst all of the friends there, been drinking alcohol, it's 3 o'clock
and it taking so long as well. So it was like, I know people try longer, but it just got to the point where I was just so blasé. I was convinced we were going to have to be using fertility drugs basically. And we were about to go on that. I had to do one more thing, I think, and then they were going to give me a prescription. I don't think they gave me one yet, but I was like, I even said to the guy, so I didn't realize how much you cramp when you're first pregnant. Like it's very much like you've got your period, but your period never comes, at least it did me. And so I even said to the guys, like, I'm getting really bad cramps. I think I've got a really bad. Yeah.
So do you I love your story because I just think it's quite different, and I think there's probably lots of women who have got pregnant and they didn't realize they were pregnant and they've gone out for a night out and they've had some alcohol. That happened to me with my first, because I found out and then there's that feeling of like, like I'm pregnant and I didn't know. But if you don't know, you don't. Obviously, it's different if you drink alcohol throughout your pregnancy. But at that point, you don't know. And I know that some people could feel quite guilty about that, or quite bad about that. So
I did some frantic Googling for definite afterwards.
Did your Googling reassure you?
It kind of did. I do that thing with Googling where you just keep Googling till you find the answer you want.
The answer that you want is always there somewhere.
Exactly. All about how you phrase the question.
Yeah.
If you dig deep enough, definitely. So when you told your partners, ladies, when you first found out you were pregnant, I mean, obviously, like Phil had Ray breathing over him at 3 o'clock in the morning, so that must have been a shock. But I'm wondering, how did you break the news to Jerome when you were pregnant for the first time?
So I definitely did not say to him, I think we've just conceived now, when I thought we'd conceived. So I did wait for a pregnancy test, and I did what I think probably 99% of women do when they take their first pregnancy test, is then go and get another 5, 6, 7 more.
Yeah.
And I remember just being in the toilet, I think probably with number 3, and then saying, I can't remember whether I spoke to him in person or no, I phoned him on the way to the shop to get another pregnancy test, and said, I'm pregnant, and silence.
Tumbleweeds, like
Absolute silence. I'm like, he didn't believe me. It's always that kind of like, really? You know, just like you were saying, like, really? Is this happening? And yeah, in that moment, so there's me recognising that I know my body and that I am becoming a mother, and that's one thing. But the test kind of seals the deal.
Yeah.
And having the conversation seals the deal. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, this game on. We are on. And then you just, I don't know, and then things, I think at that point things change. Yeah, at that point things change.
Changed in what way?
I think so for somebody like me who wasn't ever particularly maternal, and I wasn't the type of woman or the girl that was like, with the babies, and I wasn't really interested in other people's kids. I knew I was going to be a mother, but it wasn't the thing that I was always thinking about. But as soon as I found out that I was pregnant, that the awareness that it's not just about me anymore, I think that came up, and that immediately changes things. I think it's not just about me.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the biggest thing for me when I found out I was pregnant with my first. I can remember it so clearly because I used to work like in an office, and I suspected that I was pregnant because my period was late, and I went and got a pregnancy test. And when work had finished, I went and found a toilet in the office building that wasn't one that my colleagues would use, and I went and did the test, and obviously it came up positive that I was pregnant. And I can still like really tune into that feeling of like, it felt really fuzzy, it was just like an overwhelming feeling of sheer and pure joy. And I felt like I was just going to explode, like I needed to, oh my God, I've got to tell somebody. And because it was Christmas, I was it was coming up Christmas, I was meeting my husband Mike in Birmingham to do some shopping. So I had to walk to the train station. I was practically skipping all the way there, sit on a train for 20 minutes, and then I remember literally running towards him and being like, I'm pregnant! He was like, whoa, like break it to me gently. But I just felt that kind of, oh my God, I've got to share it with him. But that didn't last that long for me, because I would say that after about 4 weeks or so, because I can remember my birthday's in January, and I can remember around my birthday feeling that weight of responsibility, the realization that like, okay, life is never going to be the same again, and it's gonna be so different, and your responsibilities are going to be so different, and that kind of crushing weight of responsibility, and that did make me feel quite anxious for a while. And I'd say that that's probably quite common with with most people when they find out that they're pregnant. I'm just wondering if anyone's watching on Facebook and they can relate to any of our stories. If they let us know, that would be great. But definitely it's normal to feel that sense of joy, and then that sense of like, oh my God. Did you feel that, Ray? Did you feel like I
don't really remember much joy straight away. I really just remember I just remember being like my heart beating really hard.
Yeah.
And how it almost beats in your head, like your ears. I was a bit like, I mean, it might have been because I was dehydrated and it was 3 a.m. to be fair. But even so, I remember just being like, I always remember feeling like, oops. I don't think I really thought I didn't really mean for that to happen.
Yeah.
Even like it was almost, I was playing at it. And then I was like, oh, okay. I remember me and Phil saying to each other, actually, it's kind of, because it is amazing that that sex leads to babies in a way, because they feel like quite distinct, separate things when you're younger, and everything's about not getting pregnant. So when you do, and so you spend your whole life with it not happening, and then it does happen, it's like, oh,
it's true.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it does do that.
Do you know what? I think it's amazing how many women that you speak to, particularly those who have waited a little bit longer to have their first child, who always say, I wondered if I could get pregnant.
Yeah.
You know, they haven't had PCOS, or they haven't had any kind of specific medical flag, but they question whether it is possible for them to get pregnant, because, like you're saying, Ray, we spend our whole life going, we don't want to get pregnant, we don't want to get pregnant, we've got to get pregnant, you know, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
So when it actually happens, there is that element of, wow.
Yeah. That was my main feeling, I think, just like proper shock for quite a while, I would say. And I had to have an early scan because we couldn't be sure on dates. I think I was like 8 or 9 weeks when I found out.
Wow.
Maybe a bit more. So I was quite late, because obviously I had sort of known before Christmas, but I always thought I was pregnant, so it didn't mean anything. So it was a bit shocking. I just remember me and Phil sitting across from each other, just being like, okay.
Yeah.
Being really shocked by it for a long time. And then that repeated once we brought him home from the hospital as well. A lot of, oh God.
Like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
This is strange. Yeah.
I thought this through. But yeah.
I definitely relate to that. What I did notice was the difference between finding out I was pregnant with my first and then finding out I was pregnant with my second. So like with my eldest, I remember that really intense dizziness in my head, the feeling of like joy and bursting with excitement. With my second, I felt much more, it was obviously incredibly joyful, but there was no anxiety following it. I kind of felt more like, oh yeah, I know what happens now. Yeah, okay, I've got this, little human's going to grow inside of me, and all of that sort of thing. And I actually remember the day I found out I was pregnant with him. I hope no one's going to judge me, but I was, it was the day of the Grand National, and at that point we didn't used to like bet on the Grand National or anything, but we put a bet on, and we had won £200 on the Grand National. I was like, this is amazing. And I was suspecting that I was pregnant. So I went and I thought, well, it's obviously my lucky day, because we had been trying at that point. And I went and got a pregnancy test without telling my husband, went and did it in the bathroom of our house. And then I came out and was like, I'm pregnant. It felt really, he was like, no, you're not. I was like, no, I am. And it is that kind of like, oh, it's such a big thing, isn't it, to process? And I'm wondering, how did you break it to family and friends as well? Like, is there a protocol amongst your family of how and when you tell people you're pregnant, or can you remember that?
My husband's family, they tend to wait until after the scan, but I didn't like doing that with friends and family personally. Like, because if I was to have had a miscarriage, I wanted to have told people that I would want to help me through that. What I did, for me personally, I didn't want to have to say I was pregnant and now I'm not, and I need your help. I wanted to have been able to have said, I wanted them to know that, and then we just have to say I miscarried. Yeah. Rather than there be a double shock almost. Yeah. So I told I can't keep secrets like that. Like, not about me.
I remember that, okay.
Yeah, no, like, I could go wrong. Clients of mine that may be watching, I can keep your secrets. I can't keep my own secrets. Like, which anyone who's in my Facebook group will attest to, because I'm constantly oversharing in there and going, do I want to tell like this many people these things about myself? Like, like I just did about my finding out I was pregnant with Stan. But yeah, so I told people that I felt like I would want to know, regardless of what happened.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. What about you, Susie? What did you do?
We waited with Caesar, and I think that the part of that was we just wanted it to be ours, actually. Yeah. It felt such a big deal. It felt really nice. It didn't feel that we were doing it for any other reason than we wanted to enjoy those few weeks with just us knowing. But interestingly, as I said, when I got pregnant with Coco, it was shortly after I'd had a miscarriage. So whilst there wasn't really any anxiety with Caesar, there was a huge amount of anxiety with with Coco. So I didn't find out about her until later, so 8 or 9 weeks, I think. And the time between finding out about her and then having the first scan was horrendous. And because we had lost one baby, it's interesting, Ray, I didn't want to put myself out there and be really vulnerable about it. I wanted to tell people, I didn't want to tell people. I felt really hormonal. I remember having a massive argument with my sister who just wasn't getting it. Not her fault, like me. And not, when you first get pregnant and you're really hormonal and that rationally you're being hormonal and irrational, but you still feel like, I'm not being hormonal. This is me. This is how I really feel. And I remember having loads of conversations where I blatantly was being really irrational. I remember having a massive argument with her because she was excited and she wanted to be excited, and I couldn't allow myself to be excited because I was crapping myself. I was so scared that we, this pregnancy, I wouldn't see the pregnancy through, that I didn't want to go there. And for some reason as well, we had the first scan quite late, so it was even longer than 4 to 5 weeks. But so it was tough, actually. I did not enjoy the start of Coco's pregnancy as much as I should have done. And then I did that classic little, I'm going to make myself feel really guilty about the fact that I've been really stressed and I've had loads of stress hormones impacting my baby. Just give myself a little bit more of it, and it was just like, it was tough. Yeah,
I bet. I've never experienced a miscarriage, but I can imagine that the anxiety when you then become pregnant again is just huge and overwhelming. I'm sure that there's loads of people watching that could relate to that, definitely. So I was also I was asking about friends and family's reaction. So in my case, with my friends and family, we did something which just seems completely bizarre now. We were so excited when we first found out we were pregnant with our first, that we went round and personally visited each one of my siblings and knocked on their door at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the evening, and we're like, hi, guess what? We're pregnant, because we were just so excited, and went to see my in-laws and went to see my parents as well. So it's just everyone responds differently, and everybody wants to, shares with who they want to share with at the time.
Yeah.
So I think we've probably coming to the end of our lovely chat. We've been talking for half an hour, and it doesn't feel like it at all. We could literally continue for days. So I'll wrap it up now, but thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your experiences and being open and real and honest. And so if you're up for a cuppa with the Calm Birth School another time, that would be great.
We'll be back next week. Well, I won't be back, but you will be.
Yeah.
She's got nothing better to do. Thanks so much. It's been lovely. I've really enjoyed this. So thank you, Liz, for hosting so beautifully.
No problem. Okay then. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.